overview and a little bit of a review of my recently done mod, which is the remap to MSD400. Technically speaking, the map is called MSD Multi-Maps, as you will have known if you saw my last video where I did the actual remapping process. That means that it actually has multiple power levels in the one single calibration, which I can then switch out using the cruise control buttons if and when I decide that I would like to. The three levels that I chose were MSD 380, 400 and 420. The 380 I basically am ignoring because I had to choose three, so I just put it in there. The 400 is really where I wanted to be now, based on my current hardware mods level. And then when I add the next pieces of hardware, the downpipe and the exhaust, all I will need to do is press a couple of buttons down here and I will be running 420. You may have a number of questions with regards to the MSD map, so we'll start off by going over a couple of features. If you saw my last video, you will know that it was loaded via a cob access port. Now, that is not necessarily the cheapest way of going. I mean, in terms of price, it's a little bit on the pricey side, but if you compare it to Mountune, for example, which also uses a cob access port, but a version of the access port that they have reduced the amount of functionality in, it's not actually that bad, because with the MSD option, and indeed other options that use the vanilla cob access port, you can unmarry the cob access port from your car and then you can sell it on, so you'll recoup some of that money back. So in terms of value for money, I don't think it is as bad as the initial dollar figure would suggest. You can of course go and get the MSD maps loaded on by someone who deals them, either MSD themselves or someone else such as Devil Developments in England. If, like me, you don't live anywhere near that, you kind of need a different option. So the cob access port offers a really awesome, really easy to use alternative, and I just love it. Other features that we have got now, we have always on launch control, which is very exciting. Before, with the launch control, you had to fiddle through all these menu buttons in order to get it, and if you're in a situation where you were trying to perhaps race someone, or if you were on like a drag strip, for example, waiting for the lights to go, if you had it engaged and the lights didn't go whenever you needed them to go, i.e. within a certain amount of time, it would disengage itself and then you'd be left looking a bit silly. So it was a bit perhaps stressful trying to time the button presses to get it engaged when you needed it. And now I do not have to press any buttons whatsoever, it's always on. I just come to a stop into first gear, clutch in, floor the throttle, and then release, and away we go. So whenever you want to do a launch, you can. Combined with that is another really cool feature, which is flat foot shifting. Now initially, I was kind of a bit apprehensive about using that feature because it kind of goes against what I've learned over the years of driving a manual car in terms of changing gear, but I have done it and it actually works really, really well, and it's a really, really cool feature. You just have to kind of rewire your brain a little bit so that you just remember essentially not to lift. The idea is you keep your foot planted, which means of course you don't have to actually move. Then what happens is it sticks the revs at a predefined limit. So I think it's currently set at 5,000 RPM. So really, whenever you're using this, you do have to be on it, because if you do it, you can do it whenever you want, but if you do it, if you're just going like slowly through the town like I am now, it will jump the revs up to that predefined limit, which is likely more than what you were expecting, so it wouldn't really make that much sense. So the idea of keeping those revs up instead of dropping off quite a lot, which it would normally do, is to reduce the amount of boost that you're losing. So it kind of acts as like a manual anti-lag, which is really cool. It will make you that little bit faster, and that's a feature that comes through the cob access port, and of course you can use both of those together. Launch control, flat foot shifting, off you go. The cool thing about the vanilla access port, again, instead of the comparative Mtune from Mountune is that you can fiddle with certain map parameters. You can perhaps see I don't actually have the access port plugged in right now, but I think you can change things like the RPM limits, which is pretty cool in terms of customizing exactly what you want and how you want it to work. So then MSD, you get a number of customization options, and a couple of those surround pops and bangs. So one of which is removing pops and bangs in normal mode if you wish, which I have done, and I've done that not necessarily for now, but in anticipation of the future. So sometimes I would like to drive like some family members around. In the future, whenever I upgrade my exhaust, it's going to be significantly louder. So with pops and bangs in that could kind of annoy them. So I figure whenever I'm driving other folks around, I'll put it into normal mode, and even with the louder exhaust, no pops and bangs means it won't be offensive to anyone. So that's cool. And also whenever it's just me, I never drive in normal mode, so it doesn't really matter. So then also with the pops and bangs, I have chosen enhanced pops and bangs. So before, with my previous map, which was FPM 375, and of course with stock, they had the same kind of pops, which were kind of predictable. You go rev, pop, or rev, pop, pop. And it would be kind of the same thing pretty much every time. Now, it's a lot more randomized, and even more so than what I was able to display in my previous video. And the last time, whenever I did the map, after it had done the cold start, I did a couple of revs, and I'm not sure how well it came across in the video, to be honest. It was kind of hard to hear, but like it was certainly different and a little bit more randomized and better, and I thought it was really cool. But since then, I've driven a lot more, and it is actually a lot better. It's a lot more natural, and it's a lot more theatrical and exciting, and that is absolutely an awesome feature. Whereas before, that one would have been like perhaps that was like, you know, it might seem like a trivial or a silly or a juvenile thing. I just love it. I love the theatrics. I loved the theatrics before, and I love the enhanced theatrics now, and the more randomized theatrics now, which is just really, really awesome. I will go and park up somewhere. I'll throw in some properly recorded revs versus what I did last time, which was just like sitting here, so that you can really see perhaps what it's like just from outside the car. The obvious thing then to talk about would be, what is it like? What is MSD400 like? So, I mean, in a nutshell, it's great. Before, I was running 375 horses at the crank, and now it is pushing 400, so that is an increase of 25. A lot of people would ask, do you feel it? And the answer is yes, absolutely you feel it. If you got MSD400 from stock, I would say you could describe it as a game changer. Like, it is, compared to FPM 375, it's awesome. So compared to stock, it's gonna be absolutely insane. So not just about the raw speed, it's about how it delivers that speed. So you get that initial bit of lag, which you always are gonna get on a turbo car. You know, you feel that bit of lag. But what happened before with FPM 375 was it kind of went, and then it kind of like tailed off a bit, and there was always that sort of lacking bit. I mean, whenever I added a bunch of my hardware mods to let the engine breathe better, it certainly improved that. It sort of smoothed out the curve, but there was still always a feeling of it sort of lacking something. Now it kind of, you get the lag, and then it kind of goes, whoa! Like, it revs up really, really quickly, and even initially it kind of took me by surprise because I was so used to the 375 for over a year that I wasn't really shifting quick enough, you know? The delivery of the speed is quite aggressive. It's pretty savage. You get all your boost all the time. It doesn't mess about with, you know, this concept of giving you like, you know, just a little bit over 1 bar and then giving you all of it. It just gives you all of it. So I'm out of boost right now, floor it all the way up. Hello. So it goes all the way to like whatever that is, like 1.8 or 1.9, I think. It just goes woo! Whereas before it would have went just over half and then up. So that's a definite improvement in terms of delivery of the power. So we're talking about 400 PS, 400 metric horsepower. In terms of torque, it is 560 Newton meters. I think the FBM 375 was 515 Newton meters. I would need to check that, but in that region, I think. So it's a nice jump in torque as well. You might ask, well, a lot of these features are available on Mountune. You could have got M400R. Why didn't you go the Mountune route whenever you've got all of the Mountune hardware? Well, I like the Mountune hardware. I think it's great quality. It's always nice whenever you can get it, whenever they have it in stock. And I've got no issues with their hardware. It's really, really good. I just wasn't 100% convinced about their M400 mapping. So obviously they released M400, then they did M400R and a distinct M400 much more aggressive X. But all these other tuners are pushing that bit more than 400. So it kind of got me thinking, well, why? You know, does M400X give you more than 400? But then there's a whole question around forging. Now, I didn't just rush into this decision like on a whim based on numbers. I did my research, and indeed I actually contacted several tuning companies and asked them about their thoughts on forging. So when going stage 2, do you recommend forging? What are your thoughts on forging? I reached out to several, I reached out to obviously MSD, Motorsport Developments. I reached out to, I think, Litchfield, Laird Performance, and Revo. So they all essentially said the exact same thing. It is not a requirement for stage 2. It won't hurt. I mean, it's good for strengthening, which will help the longevity of the engine. So over the long term, it's a good idea. But is it a requirement for their stage 2 packages? No. They have lots and lots of cars running their stage 2 with stock internals just fine, no issues. The fact that Mountune require you essentially to forge if you want the M400X, and even then, will it top out at 400? A bit of a question mark. I just wasn't really sure. So I felt like I would branch out and go for someone else. And MSD was very highly touted and very highly recommended by a lot of people, so it seemed like a good choice. And of course, delivery through the access port is something that I really, really wanted. Unlike other tuners as well, MSD actually also retains a lot of the safety features. It will reduce down things if temperatures get too high, which is really good. Other tuners will just remove all that entirely so that you get lots of power all the time, which could obviously potentially damage your engine, which is a bad thing. I believe Revo does that as well. They retain it, so Revo would be a good option too. But MSD do it, and yeah, it's all good. Other things then, fuel economy. I mean, if I press my button here, it says 23.7, which is kind of around the same as what I was getting before. I mean, it does. I mean, the needle obviously goes down fairly quick. I drive it a bit crazy, and I'm convinced that the enhanced pops and bangs probably reduce fuel economy a bit. But I mean, it isn't bad, and I mean the whole argument is kind of a wee bit null and void, because I don't really think you buy a car like this, and certainly don't buy a car like this and do all these mods if you are looking for fuel economy and efficiency. You would probably go for something else, like a hybrid, like a Prius or something. The power can come on so quickly now by comparison to before, that it, like I was saying, can pretty much take you by surprise. So if you're going around a corner and you give it too much of a squeeze, it can really throw you around the corner, which is kind of it's quite a savage kind of feeling. It somewhat emphasizes just how good the handling is of the RS. It doesn't spin you out, or like it doesn't feel dangerous. It just feels like, whoa, that kind of thing. But it's really, really fun. If you should so choose, you can drive it slow, completely out of boost, and it drives exactly as it did before. Of course, pretty much all of the power gains are in boost, so it's essentially the same as it was before. So you can drive it out of boost, which will increase your fuel economy, and it just becomes a really easy to live with daily driver again. You get both sides of that coin. You don't have to be driving in mental mode all the time, and that's great. This is my daily driver. I've been driving more recently than I used to, and I love it as a daily driver. I mean, I do drive it kind of fast, to be fair, pretty much all the time, but you know, why not? So I should mention the hardware requirements for MSD400. You do not actually require a whole lot. If you get MSD400 on its own, all MSD say you need is an intake. and they can provide that for you with just that. Very, very simple and basic. The thing is though, with the multi-maps, you have to get your intercooler like spec mapped in. So I waited until I had my intercooler and boost pipes done, and then you specify boost pipes, etc. you have, and they map it specifically in for you. So you basically need intake, intercooler, boost pipes. That's it. You don't need to have exhaust or downpipe. But for 420, you do need to add those other bits in. So I think it's really cool that you don't need to have a whole lot if you want to up your power to like a stage 2 sort of level, but then stage 2 plus you do. I think it's a nice amount of flexibility and options to have. It's always nice to have options. It's always nice to be able to do stuff without spending too much money. So it's easy to do launch control. We just come to a stop, first gear, clutch in, floor it, and go. It's a marked difference between coming off the gas. Holy crap, this is going quick. So it's definitely a marked difference. So the first couple of shifts I did, I came off of the accelerator like you would normally, and then that last one I did flat foot, and there was a noticeable difference in terms of the little bit of lag that you get. Really, really, really good. So it's a really awesome feature if you remember to do it. It's going to take a while for me to like reprogram my brain to remember to do it, because it's kind of just like a reflex coming off, if you know what I mean. But it definitely works, and it is a really, really good feature. So there we go. That is kind of my overview and review of the MSD400 package that I have delivered through MSD Multimaps on my Focus RS. Am I happy with the choice that I made going for this map? Absolutely. If you look again at Mountune M400, I am enjoying this, and it would be obviously a similar power level, but the fact that I know that 420 is waiting for me makes me even happier. I kind of feel like after a while I might want more, and indeed with the 420 waiting for me, once I do some more hardware upgrades, it's just like, this is awesome, but MSD 420, whenever I switch over to that, I just know is gonna be on a different level. I can't wait for that, and I hope you look forward to that too. Obviously there will be videos surrounding that in the future, so make sure you're subscribed for that. And thank you for watching this video. Please do give it a share and a thumbs up. That is all for today. Thank you once again for watching. I'll see you next time.